Senator Levin, do you agree with me that in past wars, American citizens, unfortunately, have collaborated with the enemy?
They have, and they have been treated as enemy combatants when they have done.
Do you agree with me that in World War II, some American citizens decided to assist the Nazis and they were held as enemy combatants?
I do agree with you.
Do you agree with me that it's good policy to interrogate someone who is helping al-Qaeda to find out what they know about the enemy?
It's good policy, and if the administration decides under the procedures which are in their hands, under our language, that the person should be first interrogated for whatever length of time those procedures provide by the FBI, by local police, or anyone else, they've got the right to do that under our language.
Do you agree with me that the criminal justice system is not set up to gather military intelligence?
I think that's true.
Do you agree?
Could I ask the senator from South Carolina? I don't mean to interrupt, but under the senator from Illinois' interpretation of the Constitution of the United States, if it's an American citizen, say over in somewhere in Pakistan, that is plotting and seeking to kill or destroy American citizens, it's okay for us to send a predator and fire and kill that person. But according to Senator from Illinois' interpretation, if that person were apprehended in Charleston planning to blow up Shaw Air Force Base, then that person would be given that individual's Miranda rights. Now, how in the world does that fit? I mean, it's, again, this is one of the more bizarre discussions I've had.
The senator will yield.
20-some years I've been a member of this body. Go ahead.
It would be the law as it exists today is an American citizen can be held as an enemy combatant. The question we're debating on the floor of the United States Senate with my good friend Senator Feinstein, she is saying that in the future, an American citizen who is deemed to have collaborated with al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or affiliated groups can no longer be held as an enemy combatant for an indefinite period, which means that you can't hold these people and gather military intelligence about what they know about past, present, and future attacks. And I would argue that we would be the first Congress in history to bring about that result. And I would argue that to do it now would be the worst time in American history to take that option off the table. Because if you can't hold an American citizen who is suspected of assisting al-Qaeda under the law of war, then the only other option is to put him in the criminal justice system. And in the criminal justice system, you cannot hold someone indefinitely. You cannot ask them about future attacks or past attacks because you're investigating a crime, nor should you be allowed to do that under criminal law. The point I'm trying to make is that when you assist the enemy, whether at home or abroad, you've committed an act of war against your fellow citizens, and the Supreme Court acknowledges that the executive branch has the power to hold you as an enemy combatant. The question for the United States Senate, are we going to change that to say in the 21st century, 2011, every American citizen who chooses to cooperate with al-Qaeda no longer can be interrogated for intelligence gathering purposes by our Department of Defense and our intelligence community? They have to go in the criminal justice system right off the bat where they're given a lawyer and read the Miranda rights. If we do that, we're going to deny ourselves valuable intelligence. And we would be saying to our fellow citizens that we no longer treat helping al-Qaeda as an act of war against the rest of us. And I would argue that if you suggested in World War II that someone who collaborated with the Nazis should be viewed just as a common criminal, most Americans would say no. The day you chose to take up the Nazi cause, you turned on your fellow citizens, and you're now part of the enemy. That's all I want to do, is keep the law as it is, because we need it now more than ever. I am very sensitive to due process. There's more due process in this war. Every enemy combatant at Guantanamo Bay captured in the United States has to go before a federal judge. The military has to prove their case to a federal judge. Unlike any other war, there's an annual review process. That all makes sense to me, but what doesn't make sense to me is for this country and this Senate to overturn executive power that makes eminent sense at a time when we need it the most. It doesn't make sense to me to set aside a Supreme Court case that acknowledges that when an American citizen affiliates with al-Qaeda, that is an act of war against the rest of us, and criminalize that conduct, denying us the ability to gather intelligence. If we go down that road, we have weakened ourselves as a people without any higher purpose. And to those American citizens thinking about helping al-Qaeda, please know what will come your way: death, detention, prosecution. If you're thinking about plotting with the enemy inside our country to do the rest of us harm, please understand what is coming your way: the full force of the law. And the law I'm talking about is the law of armed conflict. You subject yourself to being held as an enemy of the people of the United States, interrogated about what you know and why you did what you were planning to do, and you subject yourself to imprisonment and death. And the reason you subject yourself to that regime is because your decision to turn on the rest of us and help a group of people who will destroy our way of life is not something we idly accept. It is not a common everyday crime. It is a decision by you to commit an act of aggression against the rest of us. I hope and pray that this Senate will not, for the first time in American history, deny our ability to interrogate and find intelligence from those citizens who choose to associate with the enemy on our soil. Because if we do that, it will be a deviation from the law that's existed at a time when we need that law the most.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'll yield.